Bringing it straight from the heart.
The feels, right from the feels. You're going to have to cue me because I can't hear the music.
Boom. We are here, Greg. This is episode 8. Episode 8, man. That's 8 weeks. That's 2 months.
Wow. Time flies. That's crazy.
Episode 8. Pretty soon we'll be on like episode 50, you know? Pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats. Cheers.
Yes. So everyone today, we're going to, the past 7 episodes have been pretty, or at least maybe the past 5, right? We've been pretty technical, just like pounding, like technical procedures at you and, tips and tricks. And today we're going to bring it home. We're going to, kind of hold it back a little bit and take it from the heart. We're going to be talking a little bit about, some news that came out recently about Adobe decommissioning the product. And, there was a lot of chat on the RapidWeaver community about, oh, wow, what does that mean? What does that mean for RapidWeaver? And today we're just going to be talking about that, maybe a little bit about our origin stories for me and Greg. And I think it's going to be a fun episode. We're gonna kind of sit back, laid back, talk some fun about our history and about where we see the future of RapidWeaver going. And I'm pretty excited about it. How about you, Greg?
I am pumped. It's going to be right from the feels, right from the heart. Ready to get this started?
Yeah, let's go.
So what's the news?
The news, Adobe, well, I think it was like 3 weeks ago now, right? So it's not hot off the presses.
We're a little late.
Yeah, we're a little late. We did mention it in one of the podcasts, but Adobe's decommissioning their main web design tool called Adobe Muse. And what does that mean? Obviously there are thousands and thousands of Adobe Muse users that are extremely pissed off right now, right? Let me back up. Let me tell you what Adobe did, right? They did close it off, and they did ship the very last update they said that Adobe Muse would ever get, and they are going to extend support out. Initially, it was 12 months, but I think they've extended it out to like 15 months or something like that because of the uproar. And I guess one user like had a petition, signed up, and thousands of people signed it. So Adobe extended it for a whole 3 months. Oh boy. But it does mean Adobe Muse is gone, right? So I'll give you a little tidbit of information. I was actually planning on playing around with Adobe Muse later this year and just to maybe tap into the add-on market because there was a whole add-on market for Adobe Muse. And I'm not doing that anymore.
saved you a bunch of time there.
Exactly. Saved me a bunch of time. Thank you very much, Adobe. Right? Adobe does have other web design tools, as Dreamweaver, which is kind of more on the coder side, not necessarily, kind of WYSIWYG drag and drop like RapidWeaver is or any of the other tools. But a lot of their other tools do have, the ability to create and export web pages. And maybe that's where they're planning on going. I'm not sure, to be 100%. And I actually have 2 friends. I coach a robotics team for my son's high school. And 2 of my fellow coaches who have actually been coaches on this robotics team for many, many years, both work at Adobe. And I talked to them. I saw them last week and was like, yo, guys, what happened? And they absolutely have no clue. They didn't even know what was going on. They didn't know what was happening, that it was going to happen. And then are really on the Muse team, obviously. One guy works on Adobe Cloud and the other guy works on Lightroom. So, they didn't really know. They were kind of perplexed as well. And I asked them what their thoughts were in moving forward. And they didn't really know either. So I think this move by Adobe just caught everyone off guard. And it'll be interesting. I definitely plan on once I launch the new WeaverSpace site, do people. Since I will have a newfangled fancy site that will, hopefully attract people. That's a lot more attractive than my current website. And I'll be like, hey, come over here. Look at this cool stuff that we got. And look at RapidWeaver and stacks and all this fancy stuff. So that's one thing I definitely plan on hoping to do this year is to try to, market to those Adobe Muse users and show them the awesomeness that RapidWeaver is. Because I really do think it is awesome. I don't just say that because I make a living from it, guys, right? I do it because I love it, and I'm lucky that I get to do what I love to do every day. So, Greg, what's your thoughts on the whole Adobe Muse decommissioning and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, we were discussing this earlier, and I found it kind of interesting. This isn't the first time this has happened, right?
Mhm.
Everybody remember iWeb? Everybody remember Front Page? These tools used to exist, but amazingly, RapidWeavers persevere, right? And you and I have been around this community for what's been 10 years now. For me, you've been almost 10 years, maybe 11 years or
Yeah,
something,
I've
around
been a
roughly.
user since 2006, but I released my first stack in 2009 for free. Maybe it
Right.
was late 2008. I don't have any stats on when I released the first free stack. It was around late
Yeah.
2009, late 2008 or 2009. I started selling them in July of 2009. But yeah, so close to
Yes.
10 years.
Yeah. See, that's the big difference for me, right? The iWeb was closed source. There was no add-ons. Muse didn't have that strong, must have not had that strong a community, right?
Mhm.
Front Page was, um, I don't really have much to say about that. I think that's
That's going way back.
yeah, yeah. Um, but to me, that's like the big difference is like the community has evolved over these years to deliver add-ons that continue to meet people's tastes, meet current web trends,
Mhm.
meet all these needs of these users,
Yep.
right? And we've evolved with the times, and I don't think these tools have been able to keep up. They're typically large companies, and we all know how that can be with a large company. It's
Yep.
just everything moves a lot slower.
And more recently to like iWeb and whatnot, Freeway just last year in 2017, closed up shop. That was a pretty popular web design app for Mac. And I know a lot of Freeway users that came over. They're happy users over on Weaver Space now on RapidWeaver, and they're loving it. There was obviously a slight learning curve for them because they're differencing in workflows and whatnot, but they're really loving RapidWeaver now. So yeah, I do think you're right. I think the biggest thing that really sets RapidWeaver apart is its community of not only users but of third-party developers, right? And that really does set RapidWeaver apart from anything else because it is not just one entity trying to keep up with all the trends, right? The way I see it
Yep.
is, we have Real Mac and they make RapidWeaver and they can only move so fast, right? Because obviously they have a large set of users. They don't want to break. They have to worry about backwards compatibility and all that jazz, right? Then you kind of have one tier down, which is really is the plugin developers, and you have theme developers as well. That are third party developers that allow you to that can actually move faster than Real Mac, right? So that they can kind of go a little bit farther than what Real Mac can do because they can release a theme or an update to stacks a lot faster than Real Mac could too, because they have effectively a smaller user set, right? And they could take bigger risks because they're also smaller companies, right? So they could take a little bit bigger risks. And then another layer below that are stacks developers, right? Which develop stacks for the stacks plugin. And those guys can move even faster than, Isaiah at Your Head or, Real Mac and RapidWeaver. And that's because we can, move faster. We can use newer technologies. Like, if a new library comes out, we can leverage that and really get a new product launched to the market a lot faster. Right. And also because it is such a niche product, like Isaiah at Your Head, developer of stacks or, Real Mac, they can't look at the nitty gritty little niche. They can't possibly develop as many stacks that are out there on the market than they could if they just had an API like they do that allows 100 stacks developers or third party developers to develop add-ons, right? They can never
Yep.
hit all the various niches that all these other developers can do on their own, right? It's just impossible. So it really is like the rising tide raises all boats, right? That saying where because we have all these developers that are attacking all these niches, it brings everybody up because there's something for everybody, in the RapidWeaver community. And more so like the past couple years, like the stuff that RapidWeaver users can now do with RapidWeaver is mind-boggling. It's stuff that we couldn't even dreamed of being possible in RapidWeaver, 10 years ago, right? Even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just mind-boggling the stuff that we could do now.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. The complexity of a stack is just astronomical these days,
Yep.
and how much development time goes into these products and these themes now is just amazing, and how much effort and talent the RapidWeaver community has in general, and how it's kept up over these years has, when if you take a step back, it's been pretty amazing. I know, and then another advantage that the RapidWeaver community has over these big companies, that we're able to, and this goes with your comments, is that we can listen to these users a lot easier than these large companies. So we get the support. We can actually listen and adapt a lot better. So our products are, meet that demand when they have it, when the users have it, when they have to add this feature, when they have to do this specific thing. It's easier for us, easier in general compared to the other company, right? Some of these features are pretty complex and can take a few months to implement, right? But if you try to put in that feature request with Adobe and Adobe agrees to do it, it might be a 6-month development, 6 month plus a development cycle before you even see that, right? Maybe even longer. Maybe it's, the next major update that you have to then pay for, right?
Yep.
So there are benefits of being the small, in the small niche community. A lot of people don't necessarily feel comfortable working with these small people like us, but we're able to serve them better in a lot of ways. So it's nice to be able to do that. I just remember way back when I started, and when I started doing stacks, and I just remember all the little one-trick pony stacks. Everybody was kind of like nobody really had it figured out, right? Nobody really had a vision for them, but people just pumped out these little one-trick stacks that did one things that were like $5, or less, right? It's just amazing how things have changed, right?
Yeah, like, I'll have stacks like my video wall stack. It's an entire like web application inside that stack. Like, it's full-blown REST API, everything all baked into that stack. It's not just like some little script that you could just throw into an HTML page. You know what I mean? I mean, some of these stacks that, I know you and I have been releasing, and some other developers, they're really, like you said, they're really complex stuff, right? And it's stuff that Isaiah and, again, Real Mac don't have to worry about, because, guys like me and you got it all taken care of, So yeah, really cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's something, just makes me personally proud of, and I'm sure you are too. There's no doubts about that. Just being able to, survive those bumpy roads, because it hasn't always been, smooth sailing for me, right? And we've seen RapidWeaver developers come and go, and friends that you make over the years kind of step out of the game and move on, and you kind of tip your hat and nod and bid them adieu. But it's nice to be able to still be around, right?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. What do you think about some of the future things for RapidWeaver? What do you think is going to be some of the bigger stuff down the road, and for users to be able to do? Do you think they're gonna?
So you know what? I think the future is bright. I you know what? I have I'm sure you do as well. We both have betas of RapidWeaver 8 on our machine, and we definitely are sworn to secrecy. Okay. The cat has been out of the bag. It's under.
No comments. No comments.
Okay. Dan will only whip me. It's okay. I will not go into details on what is in the build, because it is just a developer release right now, but I'm pretty happy with it, right? I think at least for the beta right now, it's, for me, the best beta build that I've received of a pre-release, right? I haven't used it on every project. I try to use it a little bit daily for my internal projects, but anything I obviously help out with a customer, I can't work on it because it'll upgrade the project format and all that jazz, right? But I'm happy with it. I wish I could tell you more. I'm sure as we get closer to the release date, which I have no clue what it is. Let's just say the release date is this year. I don't know anything other than that. Okay. And so neither does Dan probably, because I think that they want to release this and have it good, not necessarily make a date, right? So it's great. I do enjoy it. There are some really nice new features in it. And yeah. And in terms of Stacks 4, that is also under development. No surprise. I'm sure everyone already knew that as well. What is that? I have no clue actually there. I really have no clue. I can't even say I can't tell you because I don't know. I do not know. But I know it's going to be awesome.
Stumped.
I know it's going to be awesome.
And we know how good Joe is at keeping secrets. So yes. If he says he doesn't know, he really doesn't know.
I do not know. I do not know. I am a wide open book. Touche, Greg.
Yeah, I found it interesting how RapidWeaver is a desktop publishing tool, mm-hmm. right?
Yep.
People use this to build websites on their desktops, our laptops. But now we have this huge trend towards designing, building your site. And then once you publish it, having all that content editable online outside of RapidWeaver.
Yep. And then still allow you to edit your site from inside RapidWeaver. It's pretty cool. Now, I don't want to go and do a full shameless plug of everyone knows I have total CMS, right? And it's great, but it's not only my stuff, right? I mean, it's awesome to see a lot of other CMS solutions out there, right? Because if it was just me, right? Then I'd probably get complacent and not make things better, right? So we have great things like Go CMS and Pulse is out there, and
there's Pulse, there's WebYep.
Oh yeah, the WebYep stuff. Yep, totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that
got recently resurrected, right?
Yeah. Will took that over, I believe. Will Woodgate there. He's I think he's rebuilding a lot of it from scratch. So it should be interesting to see how that comes out.
Sweetness.
Yeah, but same deal. Like when I build the stack now, I have to think a lot about that, right? And how people's tastes have changed, and I had to do a lot of work on Gridiron to make that content editable by users after they publish. So
yep, like you made it work with Total CMS so that users could save a CSV file from Total CMS, and then Gridiron would display that on the web page as a table. Really cool stuff. So yeah, we definitely every stack. If I have an image stack, is that image stack going to be editable by the CMS, or is the text going to be editable and things of that nature, right? Because a lot of that stuff is users are starting to use all these CMS solutions, so we need to make sure that the stacks that we have can also, leverage all of these solutions, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's because that was something eye-opening for me, is that people are using RapidWeaver to build sites for not themselves necessarily, but other people and making livings off of that, right?
Yeah. You know what?
Which is kind of,
it was a few years ago where, I started getting emails from people like thanking me for the stuff that I make, because that means that they can actually have a web design business, and that was very humbling, and it made me feel good. And it kind of made me feel like I was going to another level where it was, for a while, I thought it was cool. I can make a couple bucks and maybe buy some coffee or some cool new toys, right? And then it turned into, hey, I get to support my family doing, developing these cool stacks. And then it kind of got to the point where it was like, where yes, I make money from developing stacks, but I also I now make money by helping people, and there are a lot of web designers out there that make a living now because of the products that we make. And yes, that is just a really great feeling. I'm sure like it's a feeling like Isaiah had when, I'm now dependent on him, because I get to have a living because of what he's done with the Stacks plugin, right? And same thing where, these people get to design websites for a living and support their family and feed their children and pay their mortgage because of the products that me and you make, Greg, right? It's pretty just amazeballs. Totally amazeballs.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see the business, some businesses and web businesses, not even web design businesses, built with RapidWeaver. it's, people's creativity and innovation in that space and how they use your tools or software is just mind-boggling. It's like I would not have thought you'd do that or use it in that way.
Yep. And all these CMS solutions allow them to make the site and hand it off to the customer, and then the customer can now manage their entire website, right? Blog and all.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you get started? What was your first stack?
I was just going to ask you that. How did you get started?
What was your first stack? What was your first stack?
Funny enough, my first stack that I ever released was a CMS stack. It was for Cushy CMS. Now, granted, it wasn't cool because it allowed you to, once you published it, you could edit stuff with Cushy, but once you republished, it wiped it all out. Right. So, oops, exactly. Oops. And you couldn't see any of the stuff in RapidWeaver. Right. But yeah, funny enough, my very first stack, it was a whole one line of code, it was just a div with a class of, I think it was CMS editable or something like that. Right. And, it worked. It wasn't anything fancy. I think it was one setting and a div. That was it.
Yeah, nice. My first add-on, I guess my first product would have been Weaver FM. So it was a file managing plugin, I believe, if I can remember it clearly. And I remember getting introduced to the community through Will, Will Woodgate.
Yep.
And he was helping me with a lot of the HTML, CSS stuff. And he actually designed an icon. It was like almost like an MS Paint icon of looks like a filing cabinet. It was gray. It looked like a filing cabinet. And I'm like, this is great. So I, released all the stuff for free initially, way back, and I was building it in grad school because I was going to a bunch of weddings. So I wanted a way for all of our friends to share their photos from the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Way before we had all the tools we have now to do that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just came to a point where I was looking for all this to do this, and I just decided to do it myself. I'm like, I'll just do it, and taught myself everything.
So why'd you pick RapidWeaver?
I think I must have picked RapidWeaver up at some sale. I think I picked it up at some, one of those sale websites or something.
Okay.
And I wanted to make my own website. So I was at the time fiddling with hosting my own web server in my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a DSL line with a static IP. So I run my own web server and host my own website.
Geeky.
So yeah, I know. So I was just into doing it myself and making things on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So and it let me kind of do that, and it's also well before all the tools we have now, such as before RapidWeaver is what it is, before iWeb existed, before Muse existed, before the online editors existed like Squarespace and Wix, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't have any really options, right? There wasn't much. It was either Dreamweaver, which I wasn't necessarily a fan of, and didn't have a PC, right? Or something like RapidWeaver, and kind of just started from there. Started fiddling with it, building, and next thing I knew, I was like, I need to do this feature, and nobody had it, and I just taught myself to code.
Cool.
Yeah. So here we are. I guess the other thing we were talking about before we started here was, what are we talking about online editing stuff? And I mentioned some of the competitors for RapidWeaver, and I was talking to you, and I was saying how I found it interesting how if I see somebody leave RapidWeaver, I always see them to go to these companies that are advertising, that are hiring these celebrities to build their websites using Wix, using Squarespace, but it just kills me seeing these people jump ship to these companies and leave RapidWeaver, even WordPress. Like, if at least with WordPress, at least you still own your content.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing for me. And if you search online for Squarespace and do you own your content, they have an article specifically written, a help article saying, oh yes, we absolutely, you own your content.
Yep.
If you cancel your account, you could download it. But if you read through it, it's like you get an XML file with your content in it. You get, it's like, good luck.
Yeah.
And good luck, because you can't download the themes. You do not own the theme.
Yep.
So the layout, all that stuff, all you get is an XML file with like the text of what you had written. So
yeah, these services, it's you're on rented space with any of these online services, whether or not it's Wix or Squarespace, or building your blog on Medium, or building your business's group inside Facebook groups, or any of that stuff, right? You get what you pay for with these things, and well, a lot of them are free, some of them are not, obviously. And if you don't own the service itself, then what, they own it. You're not going to get a full-blown website if Squarespace ever goes bye-bye or Wix goes bye-bye. You're not going to be able to get your entire website and just publish it to a new hosting company. It's not going to happen, right? So, and not only that, like, I think that services like Squarespace and Wix allow you to really get a decent website up with very little effort. Okay. But to get past that point is either impossible or extremely, extremely difficult. From my limited knowledge of their services, right? They don't have all of the various add-ons to do anything you particularly ever want, right? You're limited to their styles. You're limited to what they want to allow you to do, right? And that's definitely a big limitation.
Yeah, when you start up like a Squarespace account, your website could look like the next person.
Yep.
And if you want to do any of the customizations and do all that stuff, and you start looking at like custom themes, my impression is that the costs for this just become really expensive, because you need to hire a designer and developer that knows their specific, their theme APIs to build you a custom theme. So you're going to get, if you're not going to look like everybody else, then it's going to get expensive.
Now I do have
Furthermore,
sorry, go ahead.
I did have one other comment, and you made me think about it, is that a lot of these companies, they're only web hosting. They don't include email. You can't, they don't include databases. They don't include any of the other stuff that you typically use when going from just a static HTML page to actually something that's like interactive and usable. So you're left with, I just paid this money. Now I got to pay more money to get email for my domain, or,
Yeah, I never even thought about that aspect of it.
Yeah. And I don't really blame them, because email hosting is not easy. You have a lot of issues where, someone accidentally gets their account hacked and the server ends up on a spam list. These companies don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's why I think something like .Mac hosting, I think that's why Apple shut that down, because they didn't want to deal with it. They were doing their static website hosting, right, out of iWeb, and
I totally forgot
they didn't
about
want
that.
to do with email.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. The .Mac hosting.
Yeah, it's these extra features and stuff like that. It became much more complicated, and then just like the money from this is trouble.
Two things about migrating to WordPress, right? One, I think it's happening less and less because of all the power that we can now do inside RapidWeaver, right? We have full online editing and blogging capabilities now with several different, offerings, not just myself, right? There's several offerings out there for all of that stuff. So I see people wanting to leave for WordPress less and less because of what they can't do in RapidWeaver, right? There's less and less that we can't do in RapidWeaver, now than we ever could. So I actually starting to have some people that left RapidWeaver a couple of years ago for WordPress, and they've been kind of keeping an eye on what I've been working on, and they're starting to come back, and that's really nice to see. And they're really loving the I've been getting a lot of feedback in terms of how much they missed it and how much they think it's so much more user friendly to create a site. And not only that, but like the admin areas are nicer, and it's just a better experience, And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries.
Go ahead.
And then point number two was, what a lot of people don't think about is when they move to WordPress, all the extra maintenance that you have to go with in terms of maintaining WordPress. WordPress is the number one, it's like 33% of the web or something like that right now, right? And so when you have that big of a presence on the web, you're going to be the target for attacks, and people are going to attack and hack into your website. No matter what, if you're running the latest version of WordPress, if you don't keep that up and maintain all the latest security patches, someone's eventually going to get in, right? Because they are targeting WordPress all the time because it is the biggest out there. And not to say that RapidWeaver can never be hacked, but if most RapidWeaver sites are kind of static, there's nothing really to hack. There's no loopholes really to get around. So yeah, WordPress is going to be a pain in the butt. I know a lot of people that go to WordPress and then they pay someone monthly purely to manage their patch levels and to keep their WordPress security patches all installed. That's just nuts.
Yeah, I will tell you, thankfully, there are tools that will update WordPress automatically for you. So it kind of mitigates some of that.
Oh, okay.
From what there's, Chili Dog offers it. I'm not saying others don't. It's a tool that will both keep WordPress updated to the latest version, and it could do incremental backups for you. So like every night you can get a nice backup in case something did happen. But to your point, and it's similar to your point, and kind of supports what you're saying, is that WordPress is kind of a crapshoot. It's meant to do so much. The add-ons that you're getting just become. It's like trying to cram so much functionality into this restrictive area that things get really hard to use, and things get really slow. And if it wasn't, if you could look at the charts of what it looks like to run WordPress under PHP 5 and PHP 7, and if it wasn't for PHP 7, WordPress would just it just crawls. It just crawls, and your site gets affected, and your experience and usability is affected. Just your personal frustration with trying to load and edit something so simple on a page is just a nightmare.
Yeah. Because here's a tangent. PHP 7 is hot. Sorry,
it is.
PHP 7's hot. If your host doesn't support PHP 7, you need to run and go somewhere else. Chili Dog hosting, maybe.
To Chili Dog.
Chili Dog. Chili Dog.
I mean, you can get 7 was phenomenally faster than 5, and 7.2 is even faster than 7.
Yep.
And 7.3 is going to have some extra goodness to make it even faster.
Oh yeah, I haven't checked out 7.3. Actually, Total CMS 2 I'm working on, it's actually going to require 7.2. So I wanted to make sure it's I'm using some of the new hotness in 7.2. Just because, I want to keep on the bleeding edge and making sure that we're pushing the web forward.
Yeah, that's fair. Not a problem with Chili Dog. Look forward to getting our hands on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't see too many people jumping necessarily to WordPress. It's those tools like Wix and Squarespace that we were talking about before. Yeah. Just watching people just not grasp. They're sacrificing they think painful. They think this the ease of use or not ease of use of using RapidWeaver, or ease of use of using Squarespace, and just sacrificing that kind of outsourcing that kind of control and the content and ownership of their stuff. Yeah,
sweet.
Just giving that up. I don't know. I can't give that up. I mean, me personally, I can't give up that.
Yep. Well, we've kind of hit the time. I want to quickly dive into my origin story. We didn't get there. I just want.
Oh,
I'll try to dive.
I'm
through
sorry,
it.
Joe.
I'll try to dive through it really quick, just because we said we were going to do that. So, I'll try not to ramble on. I'll try. So, I started using RapidWeaver way back in the day because I was using iWeb, and I had a blog. I was living in London, and I was doing like a daily blog of my life. When I lived in London, and I wanted to change my theme. And I don't know if you ever used iWeb before, but if you ever wanted to change your theme in iWeb, you had to redo every darn page. And I was pissed about that. I was just like, what? This is nuts. And I had tested RapidWeaver before, a couple years before then, with blocks. And blocks never really connected with me. But I know my dad was building a new website for himself using Stacks. And so he was telling me, oh, this new thing in beta called Stacks, you got to check it out. It's so much nicer to build sites than blocks. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I started using it, and didn't really do much with it. I mean, I had my personal website and kind of blog with it for a couple of years. But in 2008, I had started a real estate company with a friend of mine. And I was in charge of the technology. So I was in charge of all the website and stuff like that. So obviously I was using RapidWeaver because I liked it. So I was building all of our websites in RapidWeaver and Stacks. And there were some things that I wanted to do that obviously there weren't many third-party stacks at the time anyway, right? And so I started playing around with the Stacks API and, creating little widgets for our website and doing some custom stuff. And I was releasing all these for free on joeworkman.net. And finally, one day in 2009, Isaiah was like, dude, some of the stuff you got's pretty cool, and I think you should start selling this stuff. And at first I was just like, nah, dude, who wants to buy this stuff? Like, I'm just doing this stuff for fun. Like, it's just a stack. Like, who would ever want to pay for that? And finally in July of 2009, I got an email from Yabdab. And he was starting this new service that he was looking for beta testers for called Cartloom. And it was just kind of kismet where I had Isaiah telling me I needed to sell stacks, and I had Mike saying, hey, I'm looking for beta testers for this new shopping cart thing I got. And I was like, okay, why not? Let's give this a shot. And the rest is pretty much history, right? I been selling stacks full time. Part time. I sold my first stack in July 2009. And then I went full time doing Stacks development when I got laid off in February of 2011. And
From
been doing it.
Company?
What? No, that real estate company kind of folded in 2010, and I was doing IT consulting on the side, or full time. Okay. And they wanted me to go back on the road because I was a traveling consultant. But then I kind of graduated to be like in pre-sales. And so I was just going local in the Bay Area, just doing pre-sales and sales work. And they wanted me to go back on the road because times were tough. I said, nah, I'm kind of tired of going out, being on the road, because I'd done that for like 5 years, where I'd leave on Sunday night, come home Thursday, and not see my family all week long, and just live my life in an office in a hotel room. And I was kind of done with that life. It was fun. I had some good times, and it was interesting, and I got a lot of good stuff done, but it's not something I was really looking forward to do again. So me and the company decided to part ways in February 2011. Luckily I had already been doing Stacks for 18 months, and I kind of had the income from Stacks was kind of almost equal to what I was making in a living. So it was a really smooth transition. Luckily, I was kind of really lucky with that. And
definitely.
Yep. So now I just make stacks for a living. And I was having an interesting discussion the other day where, I haven't released many like small stacks like for the past couple of years, actually. Like pretty much everything I've been working on, like I've been working on Total CMS like over 20 to 30 hours a week of that, for like 3 years, right? Is Total CMS, right? And that's definitely a long-term play, right? I'm trying to work on the really big products where, to be honest, if I were to release a bunch of slider stacks or button stacks or, any of these other ones, that I could probably bang one out in a day or 2 days, right? to be honest, I'd probably make a lot more money in the short term, right? But I'm definitely focused on the big, game-changing products in the community, such as, Foundation, Total CMS, stuff like that, where really long development cycles, really tough, complex products. But yeah, I'm excited, for the future. I think the future definitely is bright for RapidWeaver with the stuff that I have coming. I know you have some really amazing stuff coming, and I'm sure other developers do as well. And, RapidWeaver 8, Stacks 4, some really hot stuff coming this year. I'm really excited. The future is bright. And yeah, Greg, any closing thoughts?
I am too. And as long as the community is strong, I think RapidWeaver is strong too.
Yep. Sweet.
We will weather the storm together,
yes,
as they say.
Cool. So, Greg, where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
Chili Dog Software, Chili Dog Hosting, and at Barshard on Twitter.
Sweet. I am at Joe Workman everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. There also check out at Weaver's Space. That's 2 S's in the middle. Weaver's Space on Twitter, on Instagram, and www.weavers.space. And check out our community. And if you want to listen to any past episodes of WeaverRadio, head over to www.weaverradio.com and check out the archives, and you can listen to all of our past shows. And make sure, if you enjoy the show, head over to iTunes and leave us a great review. If you also want to give us some feedback or some praise, send us an email at feedback@weaverradio.com. Cool. Thanks, Greg. It was great. It was a good show. It was fun.
Yeah, good show. Yes, thank you.
Sweet.
Cheers.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Done. That was a good show.
Yeah, that was good. Told you.
Yeah.